Hello, this is the My Artifact episode number 3871. Today's date is the 7th of February 2026. It's been almost like afternoon at 14:18, like 2:18, like 0 to 18 p.m. It's very hard to kind of like describe. Okay, yeah. Like usually I kind of like say 14:18, or probably is this thing that he I don't know. Like I am kind of like a bit more confused. Like uh, like I'm actually from India na, so we actually say this thing सव्वा दोन वाजले. Okay, yeah. So सव्वा दोन वाजले means like that कि 2:15 झाले या something like that. Okay, yeah. But in English, I don't know what they refer. They kind of like say 2:18 p.m. probably, but it's not really that feel like that. I said that thing. Like I doesn't really feel like confident while saying it that. Like it's 2:18 p.m. It's a bit confusing and things and that. I don't know. Whatever. Okay. So let's just jump into the question. All right, let's go. All right. The question is: do I have a recognizable visual style, even if still evolving? Okay, that's a really good question. Okay, first of all, what exactly is this question and why am I asking this question to myself? This is YouTube realization question. Why am I asking this question to myself? Um, I kind like when I ask this question to myself, I kind of like assembly know more about myself as a content creator. I know more about the platform. I know more about my content creation and things and that and that. It's kind of like assembly, kind of like a giving me realization that am I worthy enough to consider myself as a YouTuber or not. So these are kind of like assembly realization question. Okay. Now the question is that do I have any recognizable visual style, and even if it's still evolving. Now what is actually visual style? Okay, so basically it's this thing when you are a content creator. Okay, yeah, you have to follow some certain design style. Okay, yeah, and that design style um, stick with you for rest of the channel and things like that. Now what is actually design style? A design style means like that ki like a thumbnail specifically, but more or less YouTube, the way that you execute and things like that. Take an example as a Mr. Beast. Okay, yeah, Mr. Beast video is a kind of like a very tight, very like a very chop, very highly engagement and things like that. Okay, yeah. No one can copy his video. People can, but it felt like that copy of the kind of like a Mr. Beast video. Okay, yeah. So every creator has its own unique, distinct look in itself. Okay. Dhruv Rathi has a kind of like a very distinct. Nitish Rajput has a kind of like a distinct look in itself. Not only just a look, but the way that they edit, the way that they use the sound effects and things like that. There are I'm gonna kind of like give you a couple of kind of like assembly channel name. Abhinayu is also kind of like a creator content regarding about geopolitics and things like that. Their distinct look is a kind of like a bit more emotional. Okay, yeah, they kind of like tell us the information through emotionally. Okay, yeah. Nitish Rajput, he's also content creator. Also make a video about kind of like a geopolitics, kind of like a science, kind of like some military things. Okay, yeah. And his emotion is a bit more practical, logistic or logical. Okay, yeah. Dhruv Rathi, kind of like he also content creator too. Okay, yeah. He also make a video regarding about science, same thing. Okay, yeah. His distant look is a kind of like a emotional criticism. Okay, and kind of like a somebody political, kind of like a somebody the scientific too. Okay, yeah. Kind of like a bit more analytical. Okay, yeah. Uh, then I kind of like a follow tech channels too. Okay, yeah. MKBHD, kind of like a look. He's make a video regarding about tech. Okay, yeah. His execution style is bit minimalistic, but premium. Okay, yeah. It felt premium. Uh, Talking head, but kind of like a somebody like a basically minimalistic and premium probably. Okay, yeah. Mr. Who's the Boss, same content creator, make a content regarding about tech channel. His execution style is a kind of like a bit like engaging, pumpy. like a like a like basically just uh, everything's actually happened so fast. Okay, yeah, things that and that and that very much engaging. Okay, then there is also another kind of like a creator which is kind of like a very vividly represent the kind of like somebody the style. Okay, yeah, he's anything ANITHING ANY. Okay, yeah, also a content creator regarding about filmmaking. Okay, yeah, he makes a video about filmmaking and kind of like execution styles and things like that, sometime mobile review. His execution style is a very cinematic uh, banter. Okay, yeah, cinematic, little bit of banter, little bit of kind of like a do little bit of kind of like a hard comedy. Okay, yeah, but cinematic. Okay, yeah, very poetic too. Okay, yeah, but kind of like something very banter probably. And cinematic would be kind of like a like bit more really like a really good. Okay, yeah, uh, in every kind of like a creator has its own visual style. Okay, yeah, visual style, not just kind of like a visual styles means how it's supposed to be look, how it should supposed to be feel like an audience, what they're supposed to be feel and things like that. Okay, yeah, that distant look, that kind of like a things that ki a creator has its own look attached on his kind of like a content, and that feels kind of like a unique. Okay, yeah, in the content creation process, it is really essential to develop that instant look of your ears, and it should supposed to be kind of like something unique in itself, and it should supposed to be yours. Okay, yeah, but do not try to find it or do not try to execute it. Okay, yeah, it's represent through your style. It's a kind of like a things that now every person is kind of like a bit more different, that different represent that unique style or that unique values and things like that. Okay, yeah, try not to force yourself to something else, just believe in your craft. Like basically it's not a kind of like a craft that you develop, it's a kind of like a things that key you just do it and it automatically happen. Like it's kind of like a depend on kind of like a somebody your thought process. Okay, probably like I'm gonna kind of like give you a couple of film director. Okay, yeah, Sanjay Leela Bansali makes a kind of like movie regarding about historical epic drama. Okay, yeah, uh, very less action but emotional is too much. Okay, yeah, specifically represent kind of like a Indian rich history. Mr. Bansali kind of like a represent that very good. Okay, then another thing is that ki Rohit Shetty action masala. Okay, yeah, he is really good at comedy as well as kind of like a little bit of masala, a little bit of kind of like assembly action. Okay, uh, then Christopher Nolan. Okay, his story is really mind bending, almost like a no one thinks like that before. The way that he thinks, like, oh my god, action is not really that much his genre, but the story bending, the way that they twist, bend his mind. Interstellar, Inception, Tenet, all are classic, really amazing. Okay, then there are so many kind of like some director, they have kind of like their own visual style. Michael Bay action, like really classic action, they are really good to execute the action sequence. I really like the Michael Bay action sequence is he kind of like introduce multiples of element at once. Okay, like take an example as a Transformer 3, the dark side of moon. Okay, dark side of moon, I don't know, dark moon something. Okay, third, in this movie Michael Bay kind of like a represent action with a multiple point of perspective. Okay, yeah, like from hero point of perspective, a kind of like a different character point of perspective, what is actually they have problem and how they kind of like facing that problem with kind of like a some very realistic approach. Okay, yeah, the way that military talk, they represent that. Okay, yeah, classic, really great Hollywood movies is always been kind of like somebody really good. Okay, yeah, James Cameron. Well, I didn't really watch that many James Cameron movie. I watch kind of like some movie name Avenger, first Avenger. James Cameron, na? Did I mention James Cameron? Oh wait, no. James Cameron is a. Who is the James Cameron? Wait, wait. Let me Google it. I knew this guy, but I not knew James. Oh yeah, James Cameron. Okay, sorry, Avatar movie. Okay, yeah, sorry, not Avenger, Avatar movie. James Cameron movies, really good. Avatar 1, 2, 3, and the Terminator. Okay, yeah. His execution style is a bit more realistic. He wanted to use VFX, but make sure that VFX look like realistic as much as possible. For this particular process, he wanted to achieve that realistic look for this thing. He is kind of like a pushing his evolving technology much more better, like really good. Okay, yeah. Uh, there is also one director that catch up like really unique visual style. Zack Snyder. Boy oh boy, like I like the dark movies. I like the dark movies and way that Zack Snyder kind of like somebody described the movie in such a way, boy, like a hard action, very less emotional. Okay, yeah, like very less. It is emotional, but not too much. Okay, yeah. He used logic, but as well as realistic approach. Okay, yeah. I love the way that the Superman do his fight. Okay, yeah. I think that now the execution of how does Superman fight with the enemy, Zack Snyder did it like really good, really great. Okay, yeah. Like it felt like realistic. It felt like chaos, and it felt like kind of like some destruction, and it felt like that he's the guy is actually from another planet and he has that power, like kind of like a feel like Superman. The reboot Superman is actually created by this new director, which is actually directed by the Guardian of the Galaxy. What is actually his name? His name is probably Peacemaker. He kind of like somebody Peacemaker. Okay, yeah. So Peacemaker is a movie. Is actually directed by Peacemaker. Director. James Gunn. Okay, yeah. James Gunn is also kind of like somebody create this movie name Superman. Okay, yeah, which is released in 2025. His Superman version is a kind of like a feel like very bright. Okay, yeah. And yeah, it is good, but like I don't like it that much. Like I like Zack Snyder Superman much more better. It felt like a legit Superman, feel like kind of like somebody that hiding his kind of like somebody power and things, and that he feels like that he like like super something like that. James Gunn Superman is just like a kind of like somebody just another friction movie and things like that. It just feels like a Superman kind of like a feel like a toy and things like that. Yeah, he does really good thing. Okay, yeah, but the visual style of the Superman, like I used to kind of like a look DC movie as a kind of like a dark movie, and I really love DC as a dark. Like Marvel chose a kind of like a very kind of like a somebody very like a highlight and very kind of like a bright and kind of like a punchy and kind of like a little bit of kind of like a laugh and things like that. But DC has always been dark movie. DC has always been kind of like a somebody just a brutal and things and that, and I like that. I like a basically I like Zack Snyder version of the DC movies, like really good, like a Superman movies, like a Man of Steel, and like I don't know, like a basically is this thing now the whenever the kind of like a Zack Snyder Superman kind of whenever the Zack Snyder Superman kind of like a scene on the screen, I just feel like that wow, like really great, like legit great. Okay, yeah. Batman v Superman, boy oh boy, like I love the Batman. Like basically this is the first time I love Batman. Like the new Batman rebooted, which is actually took by this new Twilight guy. I didn't really seen that particular Batman movie, the new Batman, which is actually released in maybe 2022. I'm not really sure when it released, but I don't like it. Yeah, I don't like it. Why? It's just it like I don't like it means like that. Like I didn't really watch the movie, but it just like basically is this in na ki the Zack Snyder Batman is a kind of like a somebody just kind of like a somebody build up a some sort of space inside of me, and I just don't want to give that space to somebody. Okay, yeah, like his Batman was like like really legit, like a really kind of like somebody is this thing that he pull off and things, and he has that strength, and he has that kind of like somebody the power to kind of like a fight with the Superman. And yeah, it does feel like that, but still it's just my opinion and things like that. So what exactly is this thing? So the every person, not only the creator but as well as kind of like a filmmaker, have a kind of like a have their kind of like a distinct look in itself. Okay, yeah. And that the distinct look kind of like a visualize them that he this kind of like a content it belong to that particular character and things and that and that. Okay, yeah. Like someone copy the kind of like a Mr. Beast video, easily represent that okay, this is a copy version of Mr. Beast video. It felt like copy of something like that. So distinct look is kind of like a very much essential for every person who kind of like a represent his personality in front of everyone, or in front of the social media, or in front of kind of like a people and things like that. His distinct look is actually a bit more matter. Okay, yeah. So what is exactly my distinct look? What exactly is this thing? Right now I kind of like a create a poster, I kind of like a create a graphic designing. Obviously it is really essential to kind of like a make a distinct look, and I'm trying. Okay, yeah. When I was kind of like a doing a Photoshop at the beginning, I was kind of like a utilizing red would be my distinct look. Okay, yeah. But red is not the kind of like a things that it match with the every situation and surrounding. Okay, yeah. Red represent danger, red represent kind of like a chaos, red represent kind of like a simply the violence, red represent kind of like a simply not good. Okay, yeah. But sometimes my design is a kind of like a bit more like a evolve or freedom or things like that. For the freedom I cannot able to use the red color. Okay, yeah. So there is a bit more constraint and things like that. But I want my design as minimalistic as can. I don't want to be cluttered and things. So then I kind of like started using kind of like a shades of gray color, and shades of gray is also really good. It kind of like a represent multiples of color. Okay, yeah. Multiples of color means like that I wanted to make sure that my kind of like a design should supposed to be gray. Okay, yeah. And gray has a multiple variation of gray which kind of like a represent depth and shadows and things like that, which is good. Okay, yeah. Add red color so that I would supposed to be highlight that one specific kind of like a character and things like that. Okay, yeah. But right now I'm kind of like a creating my design through AI, through artificial intelligence, specifically Gemini. And through like when I kind of like create my poster to Gemini, yeah, poster is look really cool. But distinct look is a kind of like a bit more complicated to implement that. Okay, yeah. Sometimes kind of like if I kind of like say this thing white, so it kind of like a wash out entire design in white. It doesn't really understand that much, or I think that I'm not really kind of like somebody putting that much kind of like somebody realistic prompt that kind of like somebody make it that image as I want. But basically I decided that my distinct look is a kind of like a bit more white, a bit more kind of like something that key Surface 3D, Pixar 3D Studio might be that distant look. But still is this thing that the design is kind of like a depend on what kind of like emotion should you supposed to represent. And it's not really good to kind of like stick with the only one visual style. Okay, yeah. Because if I kind of like stick with the visual style, I kind of like create a constraint to myself, which is also not really good. Okay, yeah. Yes, my priority to kind of like simply really kind of like a focus on one visual style. But since the kind of like a scenario change, I will kind of like simply change my distinct look to make sure like basically distinct look is not meant to be kind of like simply stick with this thing, kind of like evolve and change according to scenario, according to story, according to things and that and that. Okay, yeah. So this is my distant look. Okay, so this is it. I was supposed to be in here, and thank you.